Okay, so for this week's question, a lot of people want to know what it means to have a stellium, aka a grouping of planets in the same sign as each other. So different astrologers consider stelliums to be different things. I don't really think about stelliums as a thing. I obviously notice when there's a grouping of planets in a sign. And this is my main point of focus. So there are some age groups that will have, like say for me, Gen X is going to have Pluto and Uranus in Libra, most likely. A little bit before me, people would have Pluto and Uranus in Virgo. There's a group of boomers that have Neptune and Saturn. It's a shorter time frame, but there's different groups of people. Like there's groups of millennials that have Uranus and Saturn in Sag. And there's another group of millennials that have like Neptune, Uranus, Saturn in Capricorn. And so there's a lot of millennial Capricorns that in some people's estimation already have a stellium in Capricorn. And I want us to think about the fact that those planets are slow moving. So when they all cluster together, like that whole generation is going to have that signature. And then if you're also a Capricorn on top of it, if you're a Capricorn sun, then it's more than likely that Mercury is also going to be in that sign. Doesn't have to be, but Mercury can only travel like on one sign on either side of the sun. And Venus only has a little bit more leeway. So oftentimes Venus and Mercury can be in the same sign as the sun. At least one of them will be usually in the same sign as the sun, or often, not even usually, but it's often that they are. So there's that piece of it too. It's like, well, if you have the sun, Mercury, and Venus all in the same sign, like, yeah, that's significant, really significant actually. And it's not so exceptional or rare because they travel together. And then if you're in part of these like generational clusters of slower moving planets, that's also not rare. I mean, it's rare in terms of like 100-year span of time, but it's not rare for your little pocket of people because you all have that signature. So there's those two ways of looking at it. And then Mars is kind of rogue because it has like a different cycle than everybody else, but it's a faster moving planet than say like Jupiter and Saturn and especially the outer planets. So if you have a group of planets in a sign, it puts both an emphasis on that sign, its characteristics, and on the house that that sign occupies, aka the topic of life that it occupies. And then I want to say that if it's the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn, to me, those are also planets that rule other houses in your chart. And so what it does, and this is the thing that I am most curious about, because every planet rules two other signs and the luminaries rule one sign each. And so if you have like Sun, Mercury, Mars, Venus, say, all in Scorpio in the 11th house, and so you also have Saturn there. Well, that's going to pull in like 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 house topics into that part of your chart. Meaning, yes, it's important that there's a group of planets in a certain house, in a certain sign in your chart. And that house topic is going to be really important because it's very busy because it's got all those planets there. And yes, that sign and all of its indications are really important because there's an emphasis on that sign, its modality, its element, what it does, its function, its persona, whatever. But also all those planets are in charge of other houses in your chart. They're in charge of other areas of your life. So if everything, or if a bunch of planets are in the 11th house, then to me, that means that everything goes back to your friends. Everything goes back to the group of people that you surround yourself with. Everything goes back to your activism. Everything goes back to the group. Everything goes back to the people you hang out with. Everything goes back to the PTA meeting. Everything goes back to who you are in the group of friends. Everything goes back to the audience of people that you surround yourself with. Like everything goes back to that house topic because all those planets rule or are in charge of other areas of your life, other signs other house topics in your life. And all of those topics of your life get pulled into that one focus. So say if you have a stellium, a group of planets in your first house, yes, that sign is important, but it also means like you become the vehicle for so much of your life because the first house is self. If you have a stellium in your second house, it means that what you do for a living becomes really important, not just because money, is something we need to function. And I don't know if money is important to you or not if you have a stellium in your second house, but I do know that like what you do with your resources is really imperative. If you have everything in the third house or a stellium in the third house, writing, communications, your daily life, your neighborhoods, your besties, your siblings, really important. Fourth house, home, family, foundation. Fifth house, children or art or both or young people or pleasureful pursuits or pastimes. Sixth house, work, health issues. Seventh house, relationships of all kinds. Eighth house, other people's resources. You're probably a really good manager of other people. You might even be like a really good, someone who facilitates trauma-informed practices. Ninth house, teaching, facilitating knowledge of some kind, astrology, academia, law, professorship, travel. 10th house, out in the world, big spotlight, being a public figure, career if you want one, vocation if you have one. 11th house, friends and groups. 12th house, stellium, you're a very private person, need a lot of alone time. Also, you might work within systems of incarcerations and how to like get people free of those systems. And, or you might be an exceptional healer, understander of things that hurt all of us and create a lot of wounds in society. 12th house is where we suffer, how we suffer, but also how we get free of that suffering or what liberation might look like on a really deep level. So you see, it's like, yes, it's the planets. Yes, it's the sign. But it also, if you have a group of planets in a certain house, it means that so much of your life focus goes back to that topic and to that area of your life. Let me know if that helps, if that solves a problem. What is your stellium? Where is it? What planets are involved? And what sign are they in?